Yo, dude.
Hey,
Hey,
you've used that background before.
Cole, I only have two good photographs to use. You told me I have two.
I
So,
told you you had one, and I
so
was being kind.
that's not true. You said two. And so when I find a third good one, you're going to let me know, right?
Okay,
Or, hey, can I buy some of yours to use as my backgrounds?
you bet.
That'd be good. How much?
Well, let's see. Apple paid me, I think, 2,500 for one. So
Are you serious? Did Apple use one of yours?
yeah, I don't know where they used it. I assumed a screensaver or something.
Wow, that's cool, Cole. How long ago was that?
Oh, that was several years ago.
Huh. Yeah, I've never had any of that cool. Although one of my images hangs in the
Smithsonian,
yeah,
Library of Congress,
no.
the Louvre. Where, John? I'm anxious.
In my bathroom.
Steve's Diner.
No. It actually hangs in the lobby of the ag school at the University of Idaho
Oh,
in
that's cool.
in Moscow. Yeah, and I didn't have to print it. They printed it 6 feet by 12 feet.
Have
And
you been there physically
I
to see
have.
it?
I went to go see it. Yeah, and it's basically two 6 by 6 panels.
Oh,
And unfortunately, there's a TV right in the middle of each panel
oh,
where
come
the kids
on.
come in and they look at what's going on. So the picture is sort of useless.
Did it hold up that large?
You know what? Shockingly so, because you're in the lobby. Now, if you went right up to it, no. And interestingly enough, it was a cropped, let me see, Nikon D3X. I don't even remember what that was. Might have been 8 megapixels or something. I mean, it wasn't
Oh
real
my.
big. It was, but it held up surprisingly well, and
Good,
it was kind of
good.
fun to see that. Yeah,
Yeah, neat.
yeah, $1,500 just to send them a file. I'll
Yeah,
take those every day.
because that would have cost a pretty penny to print.
You
Gee,
would think. Yeah, you would
yeah.
think. Yeah.
What are we
Hey,
talking about today?
so today, let's do a viewer question. And look, the first thing, Cole has some, Cole has a request about your viewer names, right? Go ahead, Cole.
Your YouTube names.
Yeah.
Put your name in there. We don't know who you are.
Yeah. This guy is Photons on Pixels. That can't be your real name.
It could be Photon. Hey, that's actually not a bad name.
Hey, I'm gonna tell my next grandkid that, hey, name him
Photon.
Photon,
Yeah,
and then change your last name to Pixels.
we can't give him credit for this question because it's a good question.
It's a really good question. So here's the question. Does your vision always start at the time of shooting, or can it also start at the time of post-processing? So what say you, oh wise one?
Well, I say, who wrote any rules about vision? I've got no idea. I only know how it works for me, and it's always there at the time of when I'm standing there looking at the scene. But I've heard plenty of people tell me. In fact, I just heard somebody with a fairly big name say that his starts, he doesn't have a vision until he starts processing it.
That was
So
Brooks.
who's to say?
Yeah, that was Brooks. Brooks wrote that. I found that fascinating that he says generally more, not always, but he did say that more often than not, it doesn't start to come until he's in the post-processing phase. But
And
I'm
who am I to say that Brooks is wrong?
I know you're Cole Thompson. But I'm going to challenge you a little bit because what is your Cole's rule of thirds?
That vision, it's a great image is made up of three things: one third vision, one third the shot, and one third processing. But it's the vision that comes first and drives the shot and drives the processing. So
Yeah.
that's consistent with my view of seeing it.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
that vision directs how I should shoot it. Should I shoot it to the right, shoot it to the left, long exposure, whatever?
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, good. Well, I challenged you and you came through. Um, so my answer would be a little different. I don't, and I think it's experience in the field. And I'm certainly more comfortable the longer I do photography, the longer, and especially since thinking about vision more deeply, thinking about how I show up in the field more deeply. But that only started for me really maximum 5 years ago, where I really started to say, wait a minute, I want to be something more and different. I want to be more authentic. And so my teaching partner out at the retreat, Flint Sparks, has really helped me with that inner work of trying to show up in neutral, trying to just be taken, all those things. Certainly being with you and our friendship has helped me enormously with vision and understanding what that is, number one, and then really understanding that that's what I want to be doing a better job with. But I don't feel like I'm all the way there. So for me, I would say it's 60-40. 60% of the time, I just posted an image on Instagram today where, man, when I saw it, it was kind of side lit, but backlit, side lit trees with a dark group of trees, evergreens behind these deciduous trees. And so it was in real life quite stark. I mean, not stark is not the right. It was, it was like glowing. Those trees were glowing, but I knew instinctively, vision wise, I was going to make that background black. I wanted, and it was okay if there's not any detail in there. And I would worry about how much detail later in the process. That would be fine, right? But instantly, I'm like, black and white. And I know that's never even a choice for you, but it is for those of us who like color as well. But I saw it as black and white and just make those trees jump off that background. Now, there are other times, though, as I'm looking at these images from Scotland, where I knew probably in the field generally what I was thinking about, but I was playing. I found myself playing in the digital darkroom a little bit to say, do I want that to be that contrasty? Do I want it to be brighter and airier? How do I want it to feel? And I find some of that happens in post-processing where I think the vision's still there, but the way it sort of feels brighter, happier, darker, moodier, whatever it might be, can sometimes change as I'm looking. So I'm curious, even though you might have had that vision in the field, have you ever had a situation where all of a sudden you went, no, you know what? I think this is going to be better this way.
Well, I'm glad you bring this up because it's been on my mind lately. When I've talked about how I process, where I'll process it the first time, let it sit,
Right.
process it a second, third, fourth, fifth, until I make no more changes. And I'm surprised no one's ever said, well, if you had a vision for it, why were there
Uh,
ever any changes? And I think there might be a misnomer about what it means to have a vision. It doesn't mean that I know where every leaf will be and every little speck will be. It doesn't mean that I won't adjust excuse me, the contrast or make it a little brighter or a little darker. But in my mind, I know what it's going to look like. And I might come back a second time and go, well, I just need to tweak that contrast. Maybe I need to bring up that shadow detail here a tiny bit. Maybe I need to remove that rock, which is distracting. But the vision is the big picture, not every minute detail.
I see that. I think that's going to be helpful to a lot of viewers, honestly, because I think there's probably more out there than not who are thinking vision is this very black and white. This is what vision is. And I think what I'm hearing you say is the vision is the general overall tone, if you would. Tone's a bad word because I don't want that to be confused with like your image behind you, all the varying tones in it. It has nothing to do with that. But certainly the look and feel of that image is going to be either dark or moody,
Yeah.
or it's going to be long exposure because the vision is driving simplicity. That's what's happening, I think, for you more so.
Well, do you remember the telephone line shot, the power line shot, where it's almost all black with the only
Oh,
visible is the lines
I
coming
love
down?
that one. Yes.
Okay, that I knew what I wanted to do, go black, and but I added a vignette to the sky. I straightened out the horizon after I processed it a while. That horizon was just a little crooked. There was a little bush near one of the power lines. It bothered me. And those little things come to you, but the basic look of what that image was going to do with that dark big black area with those bright lines coming through, that was the image. And those
Yeah.
other things are just little tweaks that made it just right or removed a distraction.
So what I hear you say, would you then say that you would encourage people to be thinking about more deeply about their vision in the field, or would you like them to just show up open to being taken, if you will? And this is coming a little bit from the discussion we just had in Scotland, where I was partnering with Alistair Ben, and and somebody asked him, are you thinking about all this stuff? Because he talks about it. His whole business is expressive photography. And so they're asking him, are you thinking about all these processing decisions? Are you thinking about all this, feeling and how you, and he says, oh my gosh, no,
Yeah,
not at all. He says, in the field, he encouraged us to be playful, to just go out and have fun. This should not be taxing and overwhelming and
right.
arduous. It shouldn't be any of those things. And it takes time. And I just want to remind viewers, if you're still with us at this point, it took you 2 years to finally come to grips with fully what your vision is. And so please don't walk away from these shows thinking, oh crap, I give up. I'll never have a vision, all that stuff. That would be the worst thing that we can have happen here, because that's not what we're trying to have happen at all. But I do think the invitation is to be in touch with maybe what it is that you would like your images to be, and vision driven is a good thing.
Vision has got so many components to it. It's got your life experiences, it's got your personal philosophies, it's got your likes and dislikes in photography.
Yep.
But the one thing it shouldn't be is limiting. Uh, how do I say this? What you see with your eyes should not limit what you see with your vision. And so many people will say to me, well, but the sky was this way and I wished it were different. Like I said to you once, well, then make it so.
Yeah.
Uh, but the eyes are not the same as the vision. They see what is, they document. And the vision says, what can be?
I
What can I
love
make this?
I love that. Boy, does that sum up this show really nicely. Say that again. So your eyes are what is, and your vision is what,
What you imagine, what you want it to be, what it can be.
yeah,
And
what it
to
can be.
me, yeah, and the more you can think in terms of what you can imagine, the better your photography is going to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, because then you're not constrained by what the camera sees. You're not constrained at all. You're open to making changes to that images that meet with what your playful mind, your imagination, driven by vision, is wanting it to be. And I
Yeah,
love that idea.
the difference between taking a picture and creating an image,
Yeah.
and that's what I want to do: create, not document.
Yeah. Well, I think we've answered that question pretty clearly. I think what you're saying, just to summarize, is it really does. In the field, you are very vision driven, but I want to give permission, because I always feel like that's where I am, only because I'm not quite there. And I think probably many others are not finding their vision for that photograph until they get into the playfulness of that darkroom. And I hope what you would agree with me on here at this point, at least, is that that's okay too. If it's a process, right? And so if some of the ones you're getting right in the field, and man, I know exactly, like the examples we've used here, but if all of a sudden, you get in the digital darkroom and you're going, oh man, I know exactly what I want this to look like. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no
Yeah.
right or wrong to any of this.
And after reading some of the comments from our past YouTube videos, I know that my views are never widely accepted. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but I don't think that, I think your approach, you've got a lot more years of experience. How long ago was it that you found your vision, so to speak?
2004.
Yeah, so that's 20 years.
Yeah.
I've got, like I said, 5 at the most. And I think the more I do this with my newfound freedom and newfound knowledge, it'll become easier and easier.
Well, and I like your focus on how you get your mind into a state where you can let your vision come forth. Uh, again, I'm too weighed down by my day to day circumstances, and that blocks me. And one of our friends has really into meditation, and I think being more present through meditation is something that will help me with my vision.
Yeah, I love what she wrote recently. I'm sure you're talking about our friend Laura. And, and what she's going to do. And man, that resonated deeply because of the contemplative retreat that we do. And basically, she put some real meat on the bone in that syllabus that she wrote. Because I do think that's a huge part. One, in talking to, again, just because it's so fresh on my mind, being with Alistair, he meditates every day. And that's part of his process. He's found himself meditating out when he was in the field, even because he just needed to stop and quiet his mind and then get
Mhm.
re-engaged. I think
Yeah,
there's real value in that. Maybe that's
yeah,
another show, actually. So,
yeah,
well,
good.
well, we've gone
Well,
on long enough here. Show
we
call that.
probably broke a record for the longest one. How long we've been talking?
I don't know. It tells us later, I think. Yeah, well, I'll let you know. But I think that was really good content. It was a great question. Thanks for the question. And
Yeah.
please, others, always, comments are always welcome. We appreciate it. Take good care.